Hello, this is Pastor Mike Salmon from Harvest Christian Fellowship. Today's study is going to be found in Proverbs chapter 21. Proverbs 21 in our Proverbs series. The king's heart is in the hand of Yahweh. Like the rivers of water, he turns it wherever he wishes. So, obviously, we don't look at that and just say that everything that the king decides is how Yahweh decides it. It just says that God can decide to turn the king's heart however he wants to turn it, if he wishes, okay, whenever he wishes, or wherever he wishes. There's sometimes when God wishes it to go some way, and there's sometimes when he just allows it to go a certain way, but even though we would still say that's God permitting it, but there's a time when God will over or supersede the will of a king or a ruler. The king's heart is in the hand of Yahweh, like the rivers of water. He turns it wherever he wishes. Every way of a man is right in his own eyes, but the Lord weighs the heart, right? We need to examine our hearts with our ways to see if it is God's way. To do righteousness and justice is more acceptable to Yahweh than sacrifice. So giving, this is kind of like in a time of indulgences. During the really mid and late century churches, 1,000 year, 1500, 1600 year, during the time of Martin Luther, who was a priest in the Catholic Church. Roman Catholic Church came out with something called the indulgences. This is where people were paying to sin. So they would pay the Roman Catholic Church, and they would give them the permission to sin. And they would consider that like a sacrifice, like, oh, I'm giving the church money. Well, to do righteousness and justice is more acceptable than Yahweh, than sacrifice. So people are good, maybe great givers, but if they're not living their life for Christ, then there's a big problem, right? That is not acceptable. We have to live our life for Christ and to give a life of sacrifice. A haughty look, a proud heart, and a plowing of the wicked are sin, right? The plans of the diligent lead surely to plenty, but those of everyone who's hasty surely to poverty. Right? Let's see here. Getting treasures by a lying tongue is the fleeting fantasy of those who seek death. If you're a deceiver, if you're getting money because you're deceiving people or you're lying, you're going to find yourself broke and dead before you know it, right? Because eventually it'll catch up to you. The violence of the wicked will destroy them because they refuse to do justice. And this is so true. The wicked left to their own devices destroys themselves. The way of a guilty man is perverse, but as for the pure, his work is right. Better to dwell in the corner of a housetop than in a house shared with a contentious woman. If there's a wife or a woman that you live with that is constantly fighting and arguing and causing trouble and stuff, it is better for you to dwell in a corner of a housetop. And that's pretty much what it's common sense. Like, man, I'd rather live in the wilderness than to live in a house shared with a contentious woman. The soul of the wicked desires evil. His neighbor finds no favor in his eyes, because he wants to do evil. When the scoffer is punished, the simple is made wise. And the word simple means the foolish. When someone is punished, it's kind of like punished before them. If the foolish person sees the scoffer get punished, even the foolish person gets wise. Like, okay, I'm not going to mess with that. But when the wise is instructed, he receives knowledge. There's a big difference between those who are wise and those who are foolish when it gives to instruction or punishment. A foolish person who gets punished won't learn, but a person who's wise will learn. The righteous God wisely considers the house of the wicked, overthrowing the wicked for their wickedness. Whoever shuts his ears to the cry of the poor will also cry himself and not be heard. We need to be very sensitive, especially as Christians, to those who are less fortunate than we are, to those who are in need, that we need to be the body of Christ. And here's the thing: if you have money and you do not give and you do not provide and you do not carry your weight, then eventually you're going to be poor. And this is usually what happens. Whoever shuts his ears to the cry of the poor. This is someone who has money, but they don't give. And so if you're a person who has money and you're not a giver, then you will also cry yourself and not be heard. This usually happens to people when their needs, when they have money and God provides for them, whether a job, whether financial or something, and they're not givers. Eventually, they find themselves broke, and then they start crying, and they're like, "No one is helping me." Well, no one's helping you because you were not helping anybody. So you sow a little, you reap a little. You sow bountifully, you reap bountifully. So it's so important that we remember the give and take in this thing with the relationship with the Lord. A gift in secret pacifies anger, and a bribe behind the back, strong wrath. And this is this, and he's giving facts here. A gift in secret pacifies anger. So if a person is, let's say, my wife is very upset at me, or someone's upset at me, and I go and I'm like, look, I just want to give you these tickets to the movies, or I want to, whatever. It's going to pacify anger. Okay. If a bribe behind the back, strong wrath, and it's true. This is why we see a lot of people who are, they may find themselves going to jail, especially politicians, for the bad that they do. Well, I can guarantee you they're probably bribing judges and other people to subside their strong wrath. It's just a fact. It is a joy for the just to do justice, but destruction will come to the workers of iniquity. A man who wanders from the way of understanding will rest in the assembly of the dead. You act stupid game, you play stupid games, you get stupid prizes. Really. Okay. He who loves pleasure will be a poor man. So if you love pleasure, if you're a person like, oh, I want to just have fun, nothing but fun. Well, guess what? You're going to end up poor. He who loves wine and oil will not be rich. The wicked shall be a ransom for the righteous, and the unfaithful for the upright. Better to dwell in the wilderness than with a contentious and angry woman. One was like in the roof of the housetop. This one, man, is better for you to go out in the wilderness than with a contentious and angry woman. There is desirable riches, treasure, and oil in the dwelling of the wise. So true. But a foolish man squanders it. A person who's foolish doesn't know how to use what God's given to them. They just buy and spend it and use it for foolish things, right? He who follows righteousness and mercy finds life, righteousness, and honor. A wise man scales the city of the mighty and brings down the trusted stronghold. So a person is wise. And what this means is not that there's an actual city. It means a wise man scales the city of the mighty and brings down the trusted stronghold, meaning that a wise person wants to know what is going on. So they go to the mighty people who are wise, people who are wealthy, and he tries to figure out, like, give me some wisdom, give me some knowledge. And he brings out the trusted secrets of what makes the wise wise and the rich rich. Whoever guards his mouth and tongue keeps his soul from trouble. A proud and haughty man, a scoffer, is his name. He acts with arrogant pride. And there's so many prideful people out there who have no manners, and when that happens, they go down. They go down. Eventually they go down. The desire of the lazy man kills him, for his hand refused to labor. He covets greedily all day long, but the righteous gives and does not spare. Look at the difference between one who's looking for more, greedy all day long, trying to covet, trying to get more. But the righteous, what do? They give and they don't spare. They're not afraid to give. The sacrifice of the wicked is an abomination. How much more when he brings it with wicked intent? Whew. So a person who's living a life of wickedness, when they give, it's an abomination. Why? Because it comes with strings attached. A person who's wicked and they're sacrificing is like, what do I have? I'm bringing they have strings attached. How much more when he brings it with wicked intent? A false witness shall perish, but the man who hears him will speak endlessly. Okay, so a false witness will what? Perish, but the man who hears him will speak endlessly, meaning you're not going to, you're going to find yourself in the wrong end if you're listening to a false witness. A wicked man hardens his face, but as for the upright, he establishes his way. And the upright hardens his face means like he refuses to listen. It's like a hard head, right? Hard head. But the upright he establishes his way. There's no wisdom or understanding or counsel against Yahweh. Like there's nothing that you can think of or come against or even understand or counsel against God. God can take care of everything. The Father, our Heavenly Father, knows everything. There's nothing that you can come against. God is not surprised in the sense that if you try to circumvent God or try to play tricks with God, Yahweh is the greatest chess player ever, ever. Okay, there's no move that will get one above God. Just remember that. The horse is, and I say that because there's a lot of people who think they can get away with things and that they got away with it. That's not how it works. Right? The horse is prepared for the day of battle, but deliverance is from Yahweh. And this is good. It just says that, look, you can prepare all your things. You can prepare for school, prepare for job, prepare for future, prepare for family, prepare for whatever it may be. Okay. But it's actually Yahweh who delivers. So a person can have a horse, they can have all their proper equipment, but it's Yahweh who gives you what you want and what you need. It is Yahweh who delivers for you. So remember that.